It can sometimes be useful to resolve a force into a force and a couple. This will come in handy when we start working with more complex force systems on bodies. So how this works, I don't know if you can really see these diagrams very well, but if you have someone holding on to a yardstick, for example, and there's a force being applied at the end some distance from their hand, if we want to know the magnitude of the rotation that's being created or wants to be created here, as well as the force on the hand, we can replace this force that's acting out on the end with a force and a couple moment that is just acting at the hand, because that's really where our interest lies. We can do this by applying a force here that goes down and one that goes up. These two are going to keep the body in equilibrium, even though we're showing this here, because they're equal and opposite, acting on the same point. But then this negative force here and this positive force, they are the same magnitude, but they're opposite in sense. So they're going to create a moment about the hand. So let's just look at that a little bit more closely. Say we have a body, and there's some sort of rotation being created on that body by a force applied at this point. So we have a plane containing our force and a point 0. Well, then we can add two forces acting at this point that are equal and opposite in sense. But it's at that point now, because we're interested in what's going on at that point. So they have the same magnitude as the force being applied here, but they're acting at this point. This can then be replaced because this negative force here and the original force, which are opposite in sense but are equal in magnitude, create a moment. So this can then be replaced, we have a body, with a moment being created at about that point of interest, and then I have left over this red force that I had here. Conceptually, this is important if you look, for example, at something like this. So if we have two stoplights hung on a pole, and we know their distance on each of them, really, we're going to, when we do a stress analysis, or if we're trying to figure out how big to make this pole or how big to make this pole, what's really going to concern us is what's happening at this junction. So we'll be able to tell by doing this transformation or this resolution, we need to know the force that's being created at this point of interest, so this force W, and the couple moment that's being created at that point.